Texas enters the SEC in 2024 with a damn good football team. It's hard to argue against it. They will return a legit QB1 in Quinn Ewers, an intact and very talented offensive line, and should have enough pieces on defense to feel ready to go on that side of the ball as well, even though they lost a couple of big-time players up front. They're a great ad for the conference. But I look around social media, and I see Longhorn fans expecting to roll through the SEC like Lizzo through a Golden Corral. And that's okay, because fan is short for fanatical. To be honest, what makes the sport great, especially the passion in the SEC, is the trash talk. It is the overconfidence. It's only using facts when they help your side of the argument. To put it bluntly, we're all nuts here anyway, so welcome to the party. It's the best way to assimilate, to be honest. But the one-off win against Bama or Georgia is not what makes the SEC tough. That narrative is still out there. It's that outside of Vanderbilt most years, the week-to-week grind against other passionate schools, rosters with NFL players, and hostile environments. That's what makes it tough. But lucky for Texas fans, they don't have to know that. They just have to show up and be loud. But guess who does know that? Steve Sarkisian. He's been through the tornado that this league is. He's seen the eye. And he won't let that locker room believe you can only show up half the time and get all the success. He also understands that you don't want to take away your guy's stinger, or what I call needed arrogance. So for everyone screaming hook 'em next year, that should be the fact that helps you sleep the best at night. Bring in my co-host, former Michigan quarterback David Cohn, my brother, who becomes a flaming dragon on Friday, former Western State Colorado wide receiver Blaine Crane. You see it all. Don't you think? And the whole point of what I'm saying is, the best way for Texas to fit in is to keep being yourself. It's the perfect assimilation technique. You're nuts. We're nuts. Everybody thinks they're going to win and dominate. That's fine. But Sark knows those players, they went and played at Alabama, the ones that are returning, they know what they're getting into. But it's the churning of the league that makes it so difficult. Not just if we can beat this team, or if we can just beat this one team. That's not how it works, and he knows that. That's why Texas, to me, I think, and Oklahoma's a great ad too, but they're breaking in a brand new quarterback. It feels like Texas is a little bit further ahead.
Agreed.
That's their best chance, is that the guys in that building have experience.
Well, Texas is in a better position to join the SEC than they have been for the last 15 years.
Agree with that.
Assuredly. I mean, they're not coming in with a first-year head coach or a first-year quarterback. Steve Sarkisian has had several years now to rebuild that culture, and from a program that had been humbled, really, from the last time they were in a national championship against Alabama, and watching their rival Oklahoma have a lot of success. They're going to return one of the best quarterbacks in the country, and then your backup quarterback will enter as one of the most popular players in the SEC, and he may not even play. As far as the fans go, I want him to come in wild. I want him to come in
for
reckless.
sure.
I love it. Let's do it. And Texas hasn't won a national championship and going on 20 years now. So the confidence will still be there after coming off a college football playoff appearance, which was huge this past year. But the desire to get back to that, the hungriness is going to be there because you haven't, risen to the mountaintop in the last 20 years. Meanwhile, there's been 5 SEC schools win national championships. 4 of those have won multiple national championships in that time span. So I want Texas fans to come in wild. I want them to come in reckless. I think it's going to be a great time. And I want Oklahoma fans to do the same thing. It's just going to be a little different. I think Texas is a little farther ahead.
I agree with that. I mean, Blaine, let's be honest. The slogan is, it just means more. And I'm not saying that Ohio State and Michigan's not, they're as passionate as anybody out there. There are spots across the country that are very passionate. But, I mean, it's Arkham Asylum over here. I mean, it's Shutter Island. You got to be a little bit nuts to be a fan of a team in this conference. Again, and I would say no disrespect, but it's just the truth. Outside of Vanderbilt, they're reading books and doing math problems and stuff.
Hey, they're still working on the stadium. Man.
Yeah, can you just count to 11? That's what I need to know.
Well, yeah, welcome to SEC. It's like Hotel California. You can check in anytime you want, but you may never leave.
Yes.
You can never leave, but I do think for Texas to walk in now, especially this year, I don't think they can be set up in a better way. I know you did lose some pieces. You saw in the NFL draft, one guy ran like a 4.3 or
they lost Sweat,
minus 2.7, might be flash. I don't know. You lost a couple guys up front. You lost a couple backs, but this is what Steve is building. And I do think coming to the SEC, when it comes to fear's the mind will only take fear so far. And I do think a level of fear is good walking into the SEC. Fear will make you do things better than you would usually do them. But I do think they're stacked. I do think they're going to win a lot of football games. But it's the week 5s at Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's the week 6 out of Missouri or something like that where you're going to have to fight for your life every week in this conference. I do think Texas is built to do that at least better than Oklahoma is right now.
They have more depth, and that's the thing. It's the up and down, right? Nick Saban said you can only really get your team to play at their highest level maybe 4 to 5 games a year. That's just the way it works when you have a team sport like football. One guy can't go out there and just dominate the whole game and win you a game. It doesn't work like that. But it's the high of, hey, we just went. Let's say we did just beat LSU on the road. That's great. All right, next week we get Tennessee at home.
Yeah.
Like, you got to get up for that one too. That's where the depth comes in. Now, when you look at their roster, offensively, we say the word stacked, right? They are stacked at some spots. And look, Quinn Ewers has to stay healthy, okay? And going to the SEC is not exactly the best prescription for a quarterback to be able to stay healthy. We all know that that's obvious. You look at the wide receiver position, getting Isaiah Bond, right? I'm interested to see how Jonte Cook does after a freshman year where I think he's their leading pass catcher that's returning, but we know they've done some things through the transfer portal. But they're good where they need to be good, and that is up front on the offensive line. I think they returned 4 out of 5 starters. You got NFL guys all across the board, which should take some pressure off the outside, give Quinn time, help out with that running game. C.J. Baxter is going to be interesting. It's the defensive line where I know they have talent. They've cultivated some glorious herbs up front on defense, but you did lose Sweat. You lost a couple key pieces. I don't think they're going to have a first-round guy on the defensive line this year. But again, you never know. You throw them out there and see how it works. I do think the secondary will be better. I believe they finished 116th in the country last year in the back end. They're very inconsistent, but they were very young. So
that'll be the difference.
That will be.
And if you're Texas, you don't want to walk in the SEC and trying to win every game by outscoring your opponents. That's a tough way to roll through the SEC. I promise you that. You need somewhat of a semblance of a secondary because last year, man, I couldn't find you on the field.
Yeah, well, you look at the spectrum. You don't, and I'm not trying to put down LSU, but you don't want to have to operate the way LSU did last year. You don't want to have to operate like in Iowa did last year, where you're just so heavy on one side of the ball that, and I know Iowa ended up winning 10 games, but the depth of the Big Ten and the depth of the SEC, I think, is a little bit different when it comes to, being able to score on people and then being able to stop people from scoring. You want to have that semblance of balance. We're going to talk about this a lot in the NCAA tournament, right? It's a different sport, but it's a very similar methodology. If you're going to navigate a 12-game regular season, a conference championship, now a 12-team playoff, you've got to be able to win in multiple ways. Win low-scoring games, win track meets, things like that. How do you do that? You do that with balance. Balance keeps you on the beam.
And remember, they go to Michigan week 2. Week 3, UTSA. I mean, that's an in-state. That's no, walk in the park for a non-conference game. And then finish the year at Texas A&M.
Yeah.
It'll be a lot of fun.
Well, if you're ever going to catch Michigan, this new college football world that we live in, where they've have risen to the top here lately, now's the time to get them.
Yep.
At what week do they play? Is that week? It's pretty early, isn't it? Week 2, you get them early. That's fantastic. You want to get them early, and you want to get them right now. There's YouTube. Hey, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We're getting close to 100 trillion. If you haven't subscribed yet, do you really love America or really the world in general? I don't know. Choice is yours.